Alright, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to the VoD review. I just got a few things to say. First off is if you want a VoD reviewed yourself, let me know in the description down below. Excuse me, in the comments. Or in the description, you can find my Discord, and you could let me know on there. And the other thing is, my Overwatch is kind of glitched right now. Like, it's running really bad frames. I don't know what's going on. It's kind of just done this for like the past week. So the VoD review might look a little sketchy, but the whole point is to help other people, not to post like the highest quality video. So here we have a gold level Hanzo. It's actually one of my friends, Ghost and stuff, playing Hanzo, so see what she does. Starting off, perfect, fine, okay. Good to like poke the spawn or whatever, absolutely okay with that. Looking at the team, it's Ryan, Zarya, McCree, Torb. You kind of outrange everybody. I would kind of just play back and pound shields, honestly. Go for the easy shots in the shields, from far distance. Don't go for super crazy shots. You could use... when there's a lot of distance between you and the enemy Ryan, and there's no fight that's about to break out in the next 5-6 seconds, you could just pop your storm arrow to break shield. Normally you'll shoot an arrow, storm arrow, let them all go, and then shoot another arrow at the shield. Like it makes a big, like, it fucks that shield up. So just use storm arrow to spam shields now. I don't know if y'all can see the stutters, but they're killing me, man. Like, I hate my Overwatch. I don't the way it's performing is really bad. Anyway. Let's see what happens. Well, obviously someone gets pinned here off some bullshit. I feel like if you are pounding shield here, boom, 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 you're keeping Ryan from making these kind of crazy plays. I don't even have bubble for him, but it's whatever. I don't think it's your fault. I think you're performing fine here. Now, what would like a Smurf Hanzo be doing? Maybe flanking, maybe going for more, you know, aggressive angles because they see their team's losing regular fights. But at that point in the game, there's no way you could know that your team would be this much worse than the enemy team. However, once you realize, oh shit, even though I'm doing okay, like look at your ult charge. You're at 76. The rest of your team combined is at what you're at. Like, you are doing better than most of your team here. At that point, you might have to just put on your carry pants and go for like more aggressive flanks and shit like that. That's kind of a big thing between playing organized and unorganized play. Recognizing where your team's strength is in solo queue. Like, if your whole team is losing and you realize you have to carry through picks, feel free to flank. What the hell? I didn't even see where you were aiming, bro. Nice shot. I thought you were trying to hit that turret. Just poking is fine, just get out. I'm not sure where you're going here. I would just climb to high ground. You don't have to be all the way back here. You can play closer. There we go. That's where I want you to play. Good. The Ryan's feeding hack. You should burn him. Awesome. Just be careful because you're giving LOS to a lot of people. The target focus there was great. Being in the Torb and McCree's LOS, better McCree probably would have killed you. However, you're in gold, so you're not really risking scary McCree's. At that point, like a few seconds ago, let's see. So, like, I don't exactly like playing here, per se, because in order to get any kind of cover, you need to drop off high ground. But if you're just a little bit closer to this way, you could... how do I describe it? Being over here, you're an LS of the McCree. But if you legit move to right here, you crouch and you back up low enough, you back up far enough, you keep the high ground, but you're out of the McCree's LOS main. And then Torb kind of has to overextend to push you. So, like, over here, you're in, like... the LOS have a lot of people, but even if you move back here, you kind of cut off a lot of the LOS of mid, and then you have this cover right next to you, whereas if you get pressured, you just jump right back and you're safe. I mean, granted, you kind of have this here. I feel like right now, I'm going over such a minor thing that I shouldn't be putting too much attention on, so it is what it is. Anyway, you have a 6v4 and you see your team getting kind of aggressive, you're going to want to start pushing with them, get aggressive with them. You're running Hanzo Zarya, but your Zarya is nowhere near Dragon. Do not save your ult for her grab. She's at 37. Alright, so what happened here? You're half HP and you don't notice it. I didn't notice it watching this either. Okay, never mind. You enter the fight full. I guess jumping back into the McCree's LOS was the issue there. I like how you pushed up with your team on an advantageous fight. You had like a 6v4. I'm happy to see you moving up and getting aggressive there. It looks like you were just unaware of where your enemy your threats are. Because, you know, that Rhine that you were about to shoot really wasn't a big threat. I forgot who else was near the Rhine, but clearly they weren't a big threat. It's really just the enemy DPS that you really got to worry about. I'm not really sweating one of these Lucios being a Reddit Lucio and like diving you 24/7. Okay, he's sitting on point. Lucio's not a threat. It's really just about their DPS. And the Torb looks kind of interesting. A little interesting there. Anyway. It's looking like a good time to throw Dragon. Your team has Dragon. Your team is... Okay, now don't use it. Don't use it. Don't use it. The reason I wanted you to use it when you had Beat Drop on. When you lose to Beat Drops, the rest of your team's going to get Speed Boost because Lucio's going to drop Beat, switch to Speed, and amp up, hopefully. Which means your team is, you know, pushing forward, getting more aggressive. Which means your team could definitely capitalize on the Dragon much, much more. Like, much harder than if they weren't sped up. Where do I like to start from on a second point? It would be up here. Reason being is you can choose which LOS you want to look at. Or which entrance you want to look at. If you want to look at top mid, you play up here. Use this thing to block the LOS from the bottom door, and you kind of block the whole side. If you want to look at the bottom door, you could play back here, still look at bottom door, and block your LOS at the mid thing. Like, this is kind of just a really good spot for Hanzo, because it's like you waste cooldowns getting up here, and you get a vision of anything, and you can choose where to rotate after you see where the fight's like breaking out. So like if you want to go here, go right ahead. If you want to go back here, go right ahead. If you go to the floor, it's all up to you. I just really like starting on top of the distillery barrels, whatever they're called. Silos? I don't not silos. Whatever the fuck they're called, man. Wherever you put the bevs. Anyway, wow, your team's getting aggressive. It's just a Sombra though. You can start backing up. You don't have tanks up here, which means probably shouldn't play this far up. Like your Rhine's not here and you're frontlining. That's not good. Wow, you're not a Lucio, questionable. Let's go back. Let's go back and look at the issue here. Your Rhine's sitting on point, which sucks. Okay. I'm okay with the poke. Again, you take way too much poke from the McCree, and then you end up in a really bad position. Just frontlining. Try your best to retreat, like, backwards towards the safety of your team, instead of, like, kind of in between your team and their team. Also, that's a really good pin by your Rhine. You just gotta kill that Rhine. Nice. Good Dragon. It's gonna burn most of the beat drop away, get a few kills. Nice, perfect. So this is, I'm liking what I'm seeing. At least here, you were in LOS of your target and that was it. Like, you're not putting yourself focusing Torb, but then McCree's and Lucio can see you. Like right there, you were focusing Torb and only shooting and only being visible to Torb. Which means you're not taking the attention of 3-4 people while you're in a fight. Interesting beat drop. Okay. Another thing about your Hanzo, I would say, is try to keep your crosshair head level. A lot of time, you'll keep it head level and then go up and down a little bit, like a little whereas kind of try your best to have a head level and moving left and right. Also, that's a 6-man EMP. Good shit, Sombra. I know everyone has different head levels, but they're kind of close to each other. Good job. Pushing up with your tank on a what's it called? On a team fight 6v4 advantage. Perfect. Very happy with that. Now, hopefully you go back to a good starting position for this fight. You got Dragon again, which is great. I feel like I haven't given much advice so far. I would say the biggest issue would be what I said about tracking your threats and staying out of LOS of multiple enemies at a time. So I'll remember that for once I give my big 3 tips at the end. Good job. You bait out Monkey Jump and you just engage. Perfect. You try to poke him down before he comes in. I like what I see. Grab's at 70. You could save Dragon for grab if you would like. I would recommend it. And your Rhine's getting fucked. Good nano. what you're doing here I think is okay. The enemy swaps to Winston, so if you separate, if you try to go for any crazy plays against their Winston, he could jump you and beat you in a 1v1. Oy, because you know he can get Zarya bubble, his own bubble, even a Harmony Orb will be the big difference between you and him in that 1v1. I think staying with your team the resort play. Just sucks that your team got outplayed. Yeah, you've got grab, so look for the grab. Oh, they got that. If you hear the trance, don't need to use it. You could burn through beat drop, or at least break most of beat drop with your grab, or with your grab dragon combo, but don't do it for trance. Especially if you don't have an Ana to nade it, just save it. But let's talk about what you do after the what's it called? After the dragon. Like, you see the Torb. I don't know if you didn't see him, and maybe I'm giving you too much credit, but you very clearly saw the Torb there for like a second. And you just walk right into him. So what I would have done is, if I was going to do this, I would have stopped. Maybe here. So I could shoot my targets, which was the people in the grab. Even though shooting them isn't smart, those are your targets. You want to shoot them. And I would stay here instead of here. And what's the difference? Here, you're in LOS of like this whole extra like section, which Torb was at. But if you back up, you only limit yourself to seeing the enemies that you're shooting at, which means you don't get shot from you know, like third parties or whatever. But this looks like a, okay, we lost the fight, let me panic and walk out. I'm not going to dwell on this. This doesn't seem like that big of an issue. Let's see how you come back. I know you play Soldier at some point in this game. Is that only on attack? That might be only on attack. Let that shit fly. It's a Sonic Arrow. Let that shit fly. There we go. Ain't nothing wrong with letting Sonic Arrow fly. Now here you could be poking way way more. You don't need to wait for your tank to poke, because the enemy doesn't have like a Widow, a Roadhog, etc. They don't have anything that will punish you for peeking long LOS, even like Ana. The craziest thing that will punish you would be like a lucky Torb left click, or a Zen like 5 orb. But at this ring, I don't think you have to worry about that. You could go for so much, like a ton of poke here and get your ult charge up, get your damage up. Start making the enemy waste resources before the fight even starts. So you just focus tanks more, honestly. They're easier targets to hit. Sure, you're not gonna get as many like one-shot headshots, which might seem like really clutch plays, but if you're just staying alive and pumping out constant damage, by focusing tanks, you are playing very safe, and it makes it very hard for enemy to kill you, because you're not forcing yourself into positions to shoot enemy DPS. The focus tanks, you get more ults, which means you get it maybe 1 every 2 fights, as opposed to the like 1 out of every 3 or 4 that you're having right now. It's just better. It denies the enemy from taking so much free space, which helps your team as a whole. Like, it's not going to carry every game. If you put like a God Hanzo with God aim, they might win 95% of the games in this rank. But if you put like me at Hanzo with bad aim, solid brain, just focusing tanks, I think I'd probably win 70-75%. And I don't think that you're incapable of doing that either, if you just put a lot of your attention onto tanks, or a lot of your attention onto the enemy's most extended person. The reason I say that is sometimes their Torb is walking in front of tanks here. He should be, you know, the main focus of you when he does that. However, in most situations, it's not going to be a Torb burn. It's going to be a tank and a tank. But you need to kill the Zarya before he gets tranced. Unfortunate. Really bad timing. When they have trance up, there's no reason to be engaging. Engaging while they have trance up, it forces you into bad positions, because you're separated from cover to shoot enemies and shit like that. But you're not getting any reward out of it except for ult charge. Unless the enemy's purple, there's no reason to do so. Like, just try to disengage, stay safe, don't waste cooldowns until that trance is over, then you go back in. Alright, let's review the first few minutes of attack. And then I'll give you your tips. So look, even right here. You see the enemy has 2 tanks, but even the Torb is the most extended player. That's good of you to focus him. Alright. You see this Hog go to the right side. Be careful, because where you're playing right now, all Hog has to do is come around this corner, and any of y'all could get yoinked. If Sigga was smart, he would be marking the hog and kind of shielding him. But I wouldn't trust anyone to do that unless a gold player. Like, alright, right there, that worked, that's fine. But I would have just been much more careful around Roadhog. Roadhog, he doesn't have a big aim requirement, but the reward he gets for hooking you is a kill. Like, treat him with some respect. Also, at this point in the fight, okay, 5v5, I'm trying to think, at what point in the fight do you rotate? Do you separate from your team and go high ground? Go, you know, around here, and then dominate from up here, because you will shit on them from up here. That Zen is in the middle of nowhere, he has no cover. You could probably burn his 200 HP down by now. Could break turret. You could hop up here, fuck with the McCree a little bit. You could do so much from up here. When is it an appropriate time to do so? I think in between fights is okay if you could hold them off. Like, how do I describe it? In between fights, if maybe it was like the fight ended like 4v3 and your team kind of retreated, you could get up here and hold maybe 1 or 2 enemies off from pushing you and then be up here ready for next fight. Or I think when you get a pick, if your team doesn't get too aggressive, you have enough time. Probably, how long would we say it takes to get to the high ground from here? Maybe 7, 8 seconds, 9 seconds. Just run straight up here and start popping off. Like right now would be okay. But you are kind of walking in the middle of the open here. Let me show you and why this isn't okay. Enemy McCree, you know, dangerous. 2 shots you. You're in his LOS for like 4 seconds, and that's, it might not seem like that big of a deal. Good McCree's gonna punish that. I know I shouldn't really be, how do I describe this? I shouldn't be telling you to not play around enemies being gold, because you should play around enemies being gold. You should play around enemies having bad aim. It's just that's an issue that I noticed, which will fuck you up in higher ranks. Here, acceptable, I think. You can probably take this 1v1 with McCree and beat him. Soldier at this rank, I would say, destroys McCree. McCree's hitbox is really wide, and Soldier's kind of like narrow and like shifted. So if he doesn't double tap you, you can easily hit 4 or 5 shots and then hit your Helix Rocket on him if you have it. But it doesn't look like you do. Again, this is a great time to rotate the high ground, and the reason for that is this McCree's retreating from these stairs. These stairs are much quicker than the other ones. So you kind of just run up here. If they give up those stairs and you get up here for free, this is kind of a great angle for you. At this point, you should be backing up. Your team's retreating. Feel the flow of the battle. The enemy has spawns coming back. You should be backing up. Stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. Man, you were just... You want that turret, huh? Okay, that didn't kill you. It's actually a huge Helix Rocket. I'm really happy to see that. That was like... Not really like incredibly hard to hit, but I'm happy you went for it. It was the perfect play to go for it, and accuracy was fine. You kind of led him the direction he was walking. Perfect. Now, your team's regrouping here. You can be poking, and I know it's like people should be regrouping, sure, but the enemy, like, as long as you're paying attention to their hog and tracking where he is, playing you know, cover around hog, you can be pushing up, poking. Even though they have ultimate, I think it's still worth it, because enemies might start wasting resources. Especially because you have a pick, the enemy's gonna be playing kind of scared. Just keep hog in mind. This ultimate, I'm not a fan of it. Using your ult from the same angle as your team. Hold on, let me try to demonstrate what I show you. I just want to see the kill Zarya. Okay, so if your team is coming from this way, pushing into a team that's back here, you know, they're kind of blocked. Like, oh, man, I really don't know how to describe off angles. Yes, I do. Okay. Your team's pushing from there. The enemy team is here. So by you attacking here, anything that blocks damage is also blocking your ultimate. However, if you separate just a little bit, just over here, everything that's behind all that cluster of tank is now exposed. Maybe not like exposed, because this McCree's behind that cover, that Zen's behind that cover. But you get the point of an off angle. So if you were to take that off angle up to the high ground, boom, Zen, Zarya, McCree if you want them, Like these picks become free. Zen might come close to here, whatever, and then you'd have to jump up top, and shoot him. But you would see how separating with your ultimate would be more valuable than shooting into a cluster of enemy tanks who are gonna take a breather in their bubbles and take no damage from your ultimate. You don't really want to use it when you just see a cluster of fucking meat. You know what I mean? Use it when you see squishy targets separated. It has to be squishies. If it's a tank, it's not really valuable. Unless it's Zarya and she's really overextended or separated. Now, with that being said, it's been 20 minutes, so I'm just going to really quickly go through the 3 things I didn't like. 2, maybe 3 things. Number 1, shoot tanks more. Like, as Hanzo, you could pump out a ton of damage, and even though you might not be getting so many kills, so many final blows, blah, 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 you'll still be getting a ton of damage in, which makes the rest of your team perform better because, you know, they're shooting low HP targets. The enemy isn't given as much space because, you know, you're constantly hitting those arrows and shields on big bodies, etc. So it's kind of worth it, especially if your aim isn't all that. If you're able to hit consistent headshots, go right ahead. However, I'm not able to, but I'm still able to get GM with Hanzo just by pounding tanks. Another big thing I didn't like was you put yourself in LOS of enemies too often. So try to think about if your target is a McCree, you want to shoot that McCree. Only see that McCree. Make it so you can only see him. Don't make it so you can see him plus Zen plus Ana, because then Zen plus Ana plus McCree can shoot you. And that's a 3v1 as opposed to 1v1. You're not going to win those. So once you see your target that you want, you know, for whatever reason, just try your best to limit yourself to their LOS. So you're not taking, you know, 3v1s. It's only 2 tips, but the thing I did, we'll go number 3 is when you're on Soldier, if there's a relevant high ground to the fight, such as this one, you have sprint ability. You could take the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds it takes to get up here, and then by the time you're up here, like, you will be popping off. As long as there's a relevant high ground to where you're fighting, I think it's worth it to get it. What's relevant high ground? It would be high ground that is from up here, you can see the fight. So let's go to second point. So imagine the fight's happening here, okay? Relevant high ground's up here because you can see where the fight's happening. Relevant high ground's up here because you can see where the fight's happening. But if you're standing up here and the fight's happening around this part of the map by these little, you know, the front distilleries, this is a relevant high ground. You're not shooting anything that's on low ground from here. Like, you'd have to move up to up here. So I hope that kind of explains to you what relevant high ground is. The one thing I did like was when your team had a numbers advantage, you were kind of, you know, you were pushed forward. You were getting up there. You were doing shit. Like, you saw those numbers advantages and you got aggressive, and I like that a lot. That was really good to see. With all that being said, I hope this was helpful. If anybody else finds this helpful, let me know in the comments. And again, if you want VoD reviewed or just have any comments, leave them in the comments. Or go to my Discord. I said comments a lot. I feel like a fucking moron. But yeah, join my Discord, let me know. And with all that being said, I'm going to end the video here. And peace out, y'all.